Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Mandatory minicamp doesn't yield many massive storylines. If it does, they're going to be negative in nature. Somebody gets carted off the field or gets hurt. That would be a massive story. Nothing on a positive note generally happens bigly in mandatory minicamp. It just is what it is. It's a bunch of guys out there in shorts and helmets doing installs, breaking a sweat, and making sure everybody's up to speed so you can break for summer and come back and get ready for training camp. So at the beginning of Saints mandatory minicamp, the story was, okay, is Marshawn Lattimore going to show up? And he did, and that's good. That's a positive storyline. And at the end of mandatory minicamp, the storyline became, did Alvin Kamara just leave? And the answer was yes. And Dennis Allen was asked, and was he excused? And Dennis Allen said, well, we'll have to talk to him about that. I'm not sure yet. But some reporting has been done, and we talked to Luke Johnson 15 minutes ago, and he corroborated it, that Alvin Kamara left mandatory minicamp today because he wants a new contract. And Kamara is essentially under contract for one more year. The contract voids at the end of this year, and the Saints wouldn't be on the hook for any money. So he's only guaranteed this year, and he wants more than that. And that's understandable. Anybody wants to get as much money out of their current career as they can, especially if you're a running back and understand the shelf life can be really, really short at that position. So Alvin Kamara ducked out and said, we're going to have to work on this. And that'll be a story moving into July and certainly into August. Like, will Alvin Kamara show up to training camp without a new deal? And y'all have listened to me talk about the New Orleans Saints and their strategy this summer a good bit. And the Saints have repeatedly made decisions that did not negatively impact their salary cap beyond basically 2024. A lot of one-year deals, not a lot of contract restructures. They're being patient, unlike what they have shown themselves to be over the last 15 years. And you know that over those 15 years, it was the right thing to do to try to add as many quality pieces as you could and worry about the cost of that later while you had Drew Brees playing at an all-pro level. And they never quite climbed the mountain again, but it doesn't mean what they were doing was flawed. It was the right thing to do. You are not in that situation now, and so I believe now the right thing to do is to hold. Don't leverage yourself down the road and compromise future Saints teams for this current Saints team. And so when Alvin Kamara wants a new contract, I immediately go to, okay, well, what does he currently have? And right now, if you look at Spotrac and see what the situation is with Alvin Kamara, he's essentially carrying a cap number of about $8 million this past season, and it's going to go up to 18 this year. And he wants to be extended beyond that. And I understand wanting as much guaranteed money as you can possibly get right now because long-term contracts don't come to late 20s running backs very often. And I understand that Alvin Kamara may want to point to Christian McCaffrey and go, wait a second, he's about to be 30. He's in his upper 20s. He's 28 years old. And they just gave him a 2-year, $38 million extension. He's extended through 2027. And Clint Kubiak just worked with him, and they put up big numbers, and I'm that guy, so you need to extend me too. And, I don't want to make this call, so instead, we'll just ask Dr. Evil if Alvin Kamara should get a 2-year, $38 million extension.
How about no? Yeah.
That's exactly right. How about no? Because, Alvin, as great as you have been for this Saints franchise, and I mean great, reeling off Pro Bowls, incredible in the screen game and receiving game, big plays on the ground, those are kind of a distant memory. You look at the last 2 seasons when Alvin Kamara was 28 and 27 years old, 1,160 total yards and 1,387 total yards, which is not massively different from his early Pro Bowl years, but the explosive plays are different, and they've been really, really difficult to come by. you're talking about a guy who just hasn't been as explosive. And a lot of that's because he hasn't played as many games. He missed 4 games last year. Some of that was suspension, a little injury. He missed a couple games the year before that. He missed 4 games the year before that is in his 26th year. You compare his production over the last 2 years to Christian McCaffrey. Last year, Christian McCaffrey had 2,023 total yards. He was the offensive player of the year in the league. He had 900 more yards than Alvin Kamara. Even 2 years ago, he had 500 yards more than Alvin Kamara. Over 2 seasons, you're talking about almost 1,400 yards difference over 2 years. These two are not the same. And the 49ers are in win-now mode. They do have a championship roster. They do need to make sure they can spread out money over the life of a contract and keep everybody happy. If you're the Saints, I'm happy that Alvin Kamara's $18 million cap hit this coming year is coming off the books because he's not going to be on the next Saints team. That is great. And I'm not compromising that team. I don't know if it's 2025. I don't know if it's 2026, but there is no chance in my estimation as a money manager you can look at Alvin Kamara and justify a return on that kind of investment. If he wants to hold out and I'm Mickey Loomis and I'm even higher up than that, ownership, I'm going, well, if we don't have him, we don't have him. I don't think the Saints are going to be that great this year anyway. You're not going to compromise me by missing a bunch of practice time and forcing my hand when you're not as productive as you were and you're getting older and you're about to be 29 years old, and I'm just not going to fork over $10 million a year for you at that position. There is a chance that Alvin Kamara can be a Pro Bowl back at age 30, 31. There's a chance of that. I'm not paying for it and taking that risk. No, 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 no. And we'll see if this is the first time the Saints can really draw a hard line, because they did exercise the extra year on Derek Carr's contract, and they're wed to him through the 2025 season. But it's not a huge statement to just sign one-year contracts and free agents. That's the bargain shopping that the Saints have done for a while now. It's not a huge statement that you only gave Chase Young 1 year. It would be a huge statement by the Saints brass if Alvin Kamara doesn't show up to practice in a training camp and you just go, all right. That's a guy who's been part of the face of this late era. Cam Jordan, right in the middle of that. Michael Thomas, right in the middle of that. Demario Davis, right in the middle of that. Those guys for sure, but Kamara as well. And if you don't capitulate to what he wants, you're showing that you've made a change in how we're handling things organizationally. And there is just no shot that I am going to fork over a sizable contract and an extension of multiple years to what will be a 31-year-old running back who has missed some time and isn't as explosive as he was at 24. This is where the Saints have to become a new franchise. And understand where you are right now is not where you were in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. It's a whole new world. They're showing bits and pieces of that with their decisions in free agency. This is a guy who's clearly unhappy and is rightfully, this is within Alvin Kamara's rights. I'm not suggesting he's doing anything wrong. His time in the NFL is coming to a close. He doesn't have 7 more years left in this league. He's trying to get every cent he can get, and I do not have any problem with that whatsoever. But the Saints don't have to say, okay, you can either play out this year, you cannot play, whatever the case may be, and then we're going to void the contract, and we're going to move on with you off our books.
This is something worth noting, though. Nick Underhill says, someone asking him how he thinks it's going to end, he said he doesn't know, but he doesn't think that the dip in talent or ability is what the problem is. It's more so the circumstances of just the Saints offense the last few years.
Absolutely. And it's all part of the equation. And in paying Alvin Kamara something around $8 to $10 million at age 31 is just not good business. Guaranteeing that money down the road is not good business. And I don't think the Saints are going to do it. I think the Saints are changing and understanding. And that is going to come at a detriment financially to Alvin Kamara. And there's a part of that stinks because you want what's best for him because of what he's meant to this franchise. But it is what it is, and it is a business. And as much as I've talked to Jeremy Hill and Jacob Hester and Brandon Taylor and a lot of guys that I've worked with that have played in that league, 95% of the guys in that locker room understand this. They understand that they are an employee. They understand, if you want to be as incredibly cynical, that they are a piece of meat and that there are financial decisions that go over the relationship that you have or what you did 5 years ago. It just is. And I think the Saints are not going to do this for Alvin Kamara, but it is certainly within his right to try to force their hand. We'll see as it unfolds. I think it's an interesting storyline. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.